International Development, OFID, announced a $1 billion fund for energy access. Now we need others to follow and build on these commitments. Achieving the goals of sustainable energy for all needs massive new and additional investment. We need sustainable energy for all, for sustainable development, for reducing poverty, and raising opportunity for combating climate change and laying the foundations for the future we want. Our advisory board has agreed to take on this challenge and report back at the high-level partners meeting on sustainable energy for all that we will convene in June next year. Together, they will work to build momentum and scale up actions in 4 areas: finance, energy access, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. At the same time, I will continue to engage member states to make sustainable energy a central concern of the post-2015 development agenda. Sustainable energy is the golden thread that connects economic growth, social equity, a stable climate, and a healthy environment. We need to make modern energy services available to all, but we have to do so sustainably. Our current energy systems are not sustainable. The global thermostat is rising, threatening development goals and economies small and large. It is clear that we need a transformation in how we produce, use, and share energy. That is why I launched the Sustainable Energy for All initiative for all in 2011. And that is why so many influential leaders are coming on board. I thank you for your attention. Dr. Jim Kim will now make his statement, then we'll be glad to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. We're extremely pleased with the progress that's been made on this initiative. And as the Secretary General said, we have a team in place, and we've received important startup support from key donors. Financing, of course, will be the key to achieving the sustainability for all objectives. But those who provide financing, especially the large-scale investors, need to see credible, bankable plans full of viable energy projects. And to achieve our objective of universal access to electricity by 2030, we need bankable plans in a large number of countries. We're getting the plans in place. We're very excited about this. Our Sustainable Energy for All partners are preparing energy assessment plans for 42 countries. These energy assessments will be ready in April of 2014, and then we'll go to work on finding the financing that they will require. The World Bank Group is involved, but there are many other critical partners, of course, the United Nations, Austria, Brazil, Denmark, Germany, Norway, Sweden, the UK, and the US, also involved with the African Development Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank. Of course, the developing countries' governments are deeply involved in leading this process in each of their countries, and we now truly have the feeling that this is a global movement. Together, we can achieve sustainable energy. We're starting with countries in which demand for action is most urgent, and in some of these countries, only 1 in 10 people has access to electricity. We are going to change that situation. Today, the Advisory Board created a finance committee. The committee will guide us in financing these plans, and we know it can work. The World Bank Group, this is IBRD and IDA, which lends to governments, along with the International Finance Corporation and the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, has mobilized private financing for electricity expansion in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and we're also hoping that the model will be applicable in Myanmar, where we're working and moving very quickly to try to ensure that Myanmar experiences a clear democracy dividend. The second objective, which is scaling up energy efficiency, is just as important as access. This one concerns all countries, but especially the big consumers of energy, mostly the OECD countries. We call on them to redouble their efforts around energy efficiency. Improvements in how efficiently buildings, factories, vehicles, and appliances use energy offer huge potential to get more benefit out of less energy. Energy efficiency can make energy more affordable, save money for households, businesses, and industries, and it's also critical to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The Sustainable Energy for All Global Tracking Framework found that global efforts on this front need to be focused in 20 countries that are the largest consumers of energy. With the support of a hub on energy efficiency, thanks to the government of Denmark and the United Nations Environment Program, we'll be working with these 20 countries, among others, to mobilize investment to use energy more efficiently. We will show investors that sustainable energy is an opportunity they cannot afford to miss. We'll offer them an opportunity to earn a return while they help to reduce poverty and boost shared prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. So now time for questions. Please, Pamela, first of all, please say to whom your question is directed as well.
Thank you. Pamela Paul from CBS News, Mr. Secretary General, Mr. President, to both. In light of the Iran deal in Geneva, do you foresee, and since you're speaking of energy, an increase in the sale of Iranian oil because of the lifting of the transportation and insurance sanctions? And Mr. Secretary General, do you see a UN resolution necessary to do that? Thank you.
UN Resolution 1?
Necessary to begin this lifting of sanctions.
As a result of interim agreement between Iran and P5+1, I know that both sides will take necessary action, while we expect that Iranian government will hold all this nuclear development program as was agreed in their negotiation. At the same time, I understand that key countries of the Security Council will also consider easing some sanctions. In such a case, Iranians will have better and greater access to energy market. That is what we can easily expect. But for any detailed matters, I'm still waiting and to see how this will evolve. At this time, it is important that the all provisional agreement will be led to comprehensive nuclear resolution deal.
Yeah, I would say it's still early in the process, and so we're all, of course, watching very carefully, but it's a bit early to know exactly what the implications will be for oil and gas flows. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Kyogo, please.
Yes, Kyodo News, Japan News Wire Service. Thank you very much for this. My question is about nuclear power on the definition of sustainable energy. Do you include the nuclear power into your definition of sustainable energy, and would be grateful if you could elaborate the reason, please?
Nuclear power from country to country is an extremely political issue, and it's something that I know is very much high on the agenda inside Japan. Now, one of the things that we have recently noticed that have happened is that Japan has scaled back considerably its expectation for reducing the emission of greenhouse gases and carbon. And almost all of that is due to a movement away from nuclear power to sustainable energy. The World Bank Group does not engage in providing support for nuclear power. And we think that this is an extremely difficult conversation that every country is continuing to have. And because we're really not in that business, our focus is on finding ways of working in hydroelectric power, in geothermal, in solar and wind. And we're really focusing on increasing investment in those modalities, and we don't do nuclear energy.
Now, about this issue, we discussed at length about the way how we can increase the use of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Our target is to double it by 2030. As a number of countries who have been using nuclear energy are either abolishing or cutting their use of nuclear energy, it's important that the international community should redouble our efforts to increase the use of renewable clean energy. There must be more investment. At this time, I'm encouraged that many more countries and companies they are using solar energy and other sources of renewable energy. But I understand that initial investment on solar energy and other renewable energy source is a bit high. Therefore, it would be important through transferring technology and developing further technology. It would be important to cut the cost of initial investment. This is one area which advisory board is now discussing. As a way of contributing to this, I'm now considering, I have in fact established a science advisory board, which I'm going to launch early next year. So I hope scientists and technology and renewable energy and sustainable energy advisory board will coordinate so that we can expand the use of renewable energy. Thank you.
If I could just add to just one second. One of the things that we're talking about is finding ways of providing the kind of finance that's required, and it's long-term finance, so that the developing countries can actually invest in solar, wind, geothermal. What we saw is that even during times of very low interest rates, unconventional monetary policies have been in place now for some time, that access to that kind of long-term capital has been difficult for developing countries. And so at the World Bank, we're trying to develop an instrument that would actually provide the finance, because we in fact think it's a good investment. The difficulty is finding capital that is 5, 10, 15-year capital for developing countries. One of the discussion items that was, I think, most encouraging is everyone around the table was committing to do whatever we could to create those innovative instruments, reduce risk. We do it through providing guarantees. We do it through providing our own upfront investments and to try to crowd in private sector investors. And we really think that there are already examples out there where we have lowered the risk, brought in private sector capital, even in poor countries like Cote d'Ivoire, and in the future in Nigeria and Myanmar. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank
We're
you.
out of
Thank
time.
you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen from the media, there are other announcements that are being made by ministers and others who've been participating in the advisory boards. You're invited to stay, and they will be joining us to just comment on their announcements. There are in the background with the press release. There are descriptions of them from Brazil, from Norway, from well, there are a variety of it, from the UK. So I think that there's plenty of stuff. Do you have either Bank of America or Shell here? Yes, we do. We do. Yes, yes. They will be. I can get them for you. That's the request. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, that's what I think. No. Yeah. Okay. We'll do it. We're going to be having a lunch afterwards. You're all welcome to join us at the lunch, and they will be making their comments at the lunch. So.
Be very careful when you're up for the press.
Yeah.
As a former member of the Corps here,
and then you're
invited to lunch on the list.
So I think that'll be easier that way, because the meeting's still going on. Right? Yes, we're winding up. So it's going to wind up. There's lunch next door, and then people can do it that way.
Can we ask questions there?
Yes, you can. And you can also, we can arrange one-on-ones if we need them with